Good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is. If you could just let us know if you can hear and you can see and everything looks and sounds okay, that'd be fantastic. And as you can see, we've got the same reprobates in as we have every single time we do this. We've got Mark from Wiki Designs, we've got Imran. Oh, hang on. I always do this. Right, get rid of that. I always do that. Imran from Web Squadron, and we've got Jeffrey from Lightbox. Good afternoon, guys. How are you all doing?
Doing
I
good.
suppose. All right.
There you go.
If only they heard the
know.
conversation before we started, right?
Yeah.
Hey, look,
I wanted to have an
chances
easy
are it'll
Friday. I
happen
wanted to
when we're
just
talking about it.
relax and not do any videos, and here we are again.
Here
Let's
we
just
are
say
again.
Imran's got something really big coming.
Oh man. We can't talk about that.
Well, like I said, that was a really bad choice of
That's
words.
all good. It's all good.
Anyway, so we're going to have
Cheers.
a nice positive live stream today. We're going to talk about a few things. We're going to sort of talk about sort of like achievements that we've done over the last sort of 12 months, what we're happy about, what we're proud about. And then we're going to take a look forward into 2025, ideas we've got. But if anybody in the chat, in the comment section, have any things that they've been super proud of sort of like this year, then if you could start that off with hashtag 2024, and then we can take a look. So if you want to share your wins for this year, let us know in the chat. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we've been proud of, things we've achieved this year, and then take a little look forward to 2025. Maybe drop a little secret things inside there. You never know. Imran's sponsorship by Pepsi Minimum, which is the budget arm of Pepsi Max. But other than that, so Jeffrey, I'm going to start off with you, young man. What do you say has been some of your highlights of 2024? They don't have to be WordPress or web design related, just in general. What have been your highlights for this year, do you think?
Wow, it's been an awesome year. I love this time of year, being able to reflect. And I'm excited. Every time I think about the year, I get excited for the next one. I'd have to say my biggest one is a community, the Lightbox community that we have on Circle. It has, it's been a couple of years in the works, and it's starting to like really blossom. And I'm just so excited to be connecting with the people inside of our community. Just amazing people. The energy there is awesome, and that is my number one highlight. Following that, though, would be it's been a big year health-wise for me. So this year I took a lot of time to focus on my health, physical, personal, and just everything all around. Even scaled back from client work to put my health on the top of my priority list. So it's been a really good year.
Excellent. I mean, I can attest to how good your community is and how it's growing. And there's some really nice people in there. The nice thing is like, following along what you've been doing, I've recently started my community like about 5 months ago, so it's a fair bit behind where you are. But it is a nice platform, and like I say, where I've been involved with yours, we've done some sort of like live sessions together and things on there. It's a nice place. There's a lot more devoid of the drama that you get on Facebook and things like that. So if you haven't checked out Jeffrey's his community, which you can join up to for free, am I right on saying that? You can join up without any sort of membership if you want to.
Yeah, and have a look around for sure.
Yeah. So it kind of gives you the ability to sort of
Yeah,
get a
so
feel for
you could join. You just go, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But if you want the good stuff, the pro members definitely got all the good stuff. But we do have a free space there, though, too, where we got an open chat. It's just a great way to connect. You hit it right. I actually stepped away from Facebook this year. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I kind of just ghosted off of Facebook. I just didn't like what I was feeling off of there, what I was seeing. There's still things I miss with the communities there, but I wanted to focus on a vision that I had, a community that was just looking at just value, away from all that. In fact, we never even spoke about drama, inside the LA community.
And I think that's a really positive thing as well, is you tend to see there's a completely different vibe when you have a dedicated community. There's not as many people in there, but the people that are there are the people that want to be there, and they sort of seem to be more sort of contribution focused as opposed to, like you say, the drama focused and things like that. So I think you're doing a great job with it. Like I say, I know Mark is involved with it. Imran is just creating far too many videos to be involved in anything at the moment. He's just like a machine. But yeah, I think you're doing a fantastic job with it. So well done. And I'd say 2025, I think some of the ideas you've probably got there are going to push it forward and make it even better. So kudos. Mark, what about yourself? What are your highlights for 2024?
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying about Facebook, this was kind of a big deal, but then I also felt nothing afterwards. I deleted my my LinkedIn account. I've had it for about 20 years, and I just got finally fed up with that platform. It's become filled with bots and spam and everything. So, yeah, doing a little cleaning, a little clean house. I like to try to cleanse myself of any sort of like negativity, anything like that. So, LinkedIn was a profile that I was like, I'm done with this. Yeah, same thing. This was a year of like kind of reflecting on how much work we could take on, because we got ourselves into a situation where we took on way too much work. We were doing like more white labeling, and it got out of control. Like it started to become like literally full-time work, and we're really big on like, you know, not working full-time hours and traveling a lot. So yeah, that was like a big thing for us this year is we hit our limit. We hit burnout, and we figured out how far we could push it before we kind of hit that breaking point.
Sweet. And I think we do need to sort of take that time to sort of look back and reflect, because when you're sort of like your head down and you're in the weeds, you're kind of focused on things, it's very easy for these things to kind of build up and start to overwhelm you without even realizing you're becoming overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And like I say, burnout is a real thing that, you know, people might not sort of see when you've got so many sort of like plates spinning. You know, you're not just like building websites. There's working with brands, there's working with creating content and all those kinds of things. There's a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of plates to sort of be spinning and juggling. And it's very easy for those things to sort of mount up and potentially all come crashing down at the same time. But
your body takes a toll on it, because you're stressed and you're like hunched over a keyboard all day. Like it will literally affect your whole body. And now we're getting into our 40s, and you got to take that serious. You got to go for walks, and you got to get the hell out. So that's why we actually just came back from Germany. We did like a week-long trip in Germany. So it actually felt like a real vacation for like the first time in a while. So I didn't have to bust out the laptop once or anything like that. So that was a positive for me.
Yeah. And I think that's the crazy thing is when you do work for yourself, whether you're sort of an agency, you know, you're sort of solo designers, whatever, you can't just take a holiday. You've got to take some tech with you. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. So if or when something goes wrong, you've got at least the ability to be able to log into your hosting, to your server setup, whatever it is, and you never truly switch off. I used to be exactly the same, and I always have to take a laptop with me when I go on holidays. It takes 3 or 4 days to start to mentally wind down, and then something will go wrong, and you've got to sort of log in and deal with it and put out fires and God knows what, and it's stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, like we usually both bring our laptops, Barb and I, but she didn't bring hers at all. She's like, I'm going to do it without bringing a laptop, because she just went a few months ago to Paris with her sister. And while she was there, she was doing work every night, because that's when we were in the weeds of it and like overworking. So I was like, you kind of had like a part-time vacation at that point. That sucks. You know, you're across the other side of the world, and half the time you're kind of focusing on the client work. So,
yeah, absolutely. Imran, what about yourself? What have been your highlights for 2024? I can imagine one of them would be that little award you just received.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it was a great achievement, you know, the whole 100,000 and all of that, and getting videos and courses. But my biggest achievement really was reflecting upon myself and my family. And I don't talk about this often because I feel like I'm revealing my inner weakness now. But when I gave up on the NHS 2 and a bit years ago, I went all in on the agency and content creation, all of those things. And I put too much time in. And it became very evident last year that I was kind of neglecting my family quite a bit. I'm always busy. I've got to do this. I've got these clients. I've got to do these emails. I was always on the go. And this year, definitely from about June time, I started doing more time with the family. So some people don't believe me, but when it hits 4 p.m., I stop working. There's no videos, there's no agency work, there's nothing. And me and the family, we get 5 hours. And I know 5 hours doesn't sound like a lot, but 5 hours a day where I'm with my son, with my wife, we're cooking, we're eating, we're going out, we're doing stuff. It's made a big, big change. And my son's got ADHD. he has a few issues, you know, with anger management and stuff like that. So I've been able to connect much more deeper with him as well. So from a family point of view, I think it's been the fact that I love to create, I love to do videos, I'm always putting stuff out there, but I think I've started to realize that everything we do one day could just end, you know. Maybe people stop watching our videos. Maybe people no longer want websites. Maybe we are no longer flavor of the month and everybody wants to just use Gutenberg or whatever, right? No one wants to talk to us or join our courses or whatever. What are we going to have left at the end of the day? I mean, obviously Pepsi Max, as long as that doesn't go out of fashion, I'm sorted. But it was about thinking about my family a lot more. So for 2024, it was really... Just doing as much as I can with my family, because I don't know what's around the corner. So, you know, so from an emotional point of view, that was my big highlight of this year.
Reconnecting with your family. I mean, it is finding that work-life balance. You know, I think the problem is if you were like you and I, because we could put out a lot of content, it becomes a rat race. It becomes a wheel that's like a hamster wheel where there's this little thing dangling in front of you that says, like, you've got to get this, but behind you, you're being chased by a lion, which is basically just the YouTube algorithm going like, you don't create, we just don't show you. And you kind of like try to keep that relevance. And I got to say, the one thing that I've taken away this year, which I think has been an important thing for me with regards to YouTube, was removing my reliance upon it. Because, I mean, we talked about this in the past, that a couple of years ago, like, when we had, you know, like the COVID kind of thing, that was generating really good income. And then we had the problem with invalid traffic. So for anybody who doesn't know, there was a period sort of like the middle of last year where there was this technical issue with YouTube that was saying that there was a lot of invalid traffic. And lots of people were getting hit by it. I got hit by it hard. I lost 80% of the revenue that I was generating for like 3 to 4 months. And that's big. That's a big impact. You know, it went down to like a couple of £100, which, you know, if you rely on that, and that was an eye-opener, that was a wake-up call. So there's a case of, right, I need to rebalance this, and that's why I've changed my business model where I don't concentrate as much about worrying about getting as many views. I just keep putting content out that interests me to keep the relevance and keep sort of like, so people remember what you're doing and kind of allow you to use that to drive other things. And that for me has definitely been a massive sort of shift. So it doesn't matter. You don't feel like you're reliant upon that. You know, you're all your eggs in one basket. It wasn't a case of doing that. But when you start to see success on YouTube and you start to make money, it's very easy to get caught up in that. And then, like I say, the whole thing becomes like a hamster wheel with a piece of cheese in front of you and a lion behind you, constantly chasing you. But you're never getting closer to the cheese, but the lion's getting closer to your butt. Do you know what I mean? It's like... There's a lot sort of, and it becomes part of your psyche. You know, I think this is probably why I know, Imran, you were very similar to me. You've got a real passion for just like something excites you, you want to put a video out on it. Something comes out, you think it's cool, you want to put a video out on it. And it's very easy to fall into that trap of just constantly doing that and constantly looking for ideas and chasing things and stuff. And YouTube does that to you. You'll see lots of creators. That's why I think this year there's been a lot of people that have sort of said, I'm quitting YouTube. This is my last video. You know, some big names doing it. And I think probably because of that, because it's an unhealthy situation if you have that as a big a focus in your business. So for me, that's been sort of my takeaway this year. And like Imran says, I think sort of focusing on your family is also something that's very important. And I think we can, by getting caught up in that hamster wheel, you can very easily sort of lose touch with your family. And your brain is just constantly going. If I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, my brain kicks in and I cannot go back to sleep. And last thing at night, I'm constantly thinking of things. I know, Imran, we've talked about this and you're exactly the same. Jeffrey and Mark, I don't know if you were the same, if you were kind of like, you know, not specifically towards YouTube, but just like with your business, with the ideas that you've got, like Jeffrey with the community and things like that. Do you kind of find that your brain is just wired to constantly be firing ideas around, or have you found a way to be able to sort of switch that off and relax and separate that from other things?
I found a way to do it this year. I had to step back on a lot of things. But before that, running my agency, it was like that. Matt Duvall, I shared inside with you guys. He put out a video just today. I'm back. If you guys don't know who he is, he's a YouTuber, creates really great content, has a massive channel, and he just disappeared for like 8 months. But he came back, and some of the things he talked about I went through, but with my agency, like feeling trapped in the business, feeling like going from having all this passion, loving what we're doing, to just constant burnouts after burnouts after burnouts. And it was 2023. That was a rough year for me. It was the roughest year that I've had in a long time, family-wise, health-wise. A lot of things happened, car accident, some losses. And that got me to step back and to take a look at what's more important, what's really important in life. And one thing I learned is constantly going forward, small step back, going forward, small step back. And so I learned how to just be easy on myself and give me that step back. And that's when I decided, beginning 2024, I'm only going to focus my time on one area, and I'm going to give myself a break. Focus on health, focus on recovery from last year, and trying to get my energy back. And now, hopefully, my goal is to hit full steam now going into 2025. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
Can I just say that I've got a bit. I've got a bit of a healthy, unhealthy addiction at the moment. So a lot of people know that I have a stepper over here. I probably do about 5 to 6 hours a day on that stepper, and I've got this really bad addiction to it where, like, if I've not hit like 3,000 calories burned by like 2 p.m., I'm not happy. I'm a miserable person. So, but I like what Jeff said about looking after yourself, your health, and all of that.
If I haven't hit 3,000 calories consumed by that time, I'm pissed.
It means I can eat my doner kebab and not feel guilty.
And your sons, but I look at it, that's probably why he's got the anger issue.
Yes, yeah.
Give me my kebab back.
That does make sense.
Yeah. So we've covered the 2024. Any goals you'd like to talk about for 2025? What do you kind of think? These are the things, like I say, don't have to be specific. It could be quite general, but I've got some ideas that I've got, but I want to sort of see what you guys are sort of coming up with. I mean, Mark, you got any kind of goals, things you want to drive towards in 25?
I think to go back to the YouTube thing, I've kind of cut back on my tutorials. We're actually going more on like live streams. We want to collaborate more with people in the coming year. That's why I get more involved with like Jeff's group and everything, because it actually makes you feel good that you're helping other people, and it's not just creating like another kind of boring tutorial. Like that gets a little bit dry after a while. So I think, collaborating, putting ourselves out there a little bit more, but I don't want to get like too personal. Like that's the struggle that I do have sometimes with doing like live streams is I don't like when YouTubers or people online, they share too much information because it will always get used against you. So I'm always kind of like aware of share enough, but not too much. So that's that's kind of like our goal for next year, is to be a little more engaging with our community here, because the weird thing about our channel is it's kind of, our audience is a little bit different than probably all of you guys, because I got all different types of tutorials. I got 3D people, I have web design, branding. So it's like our community is very like fragmented. So I want to try to bring it together. So that's probably what we're going to be focused on most of the year, is just focusing on more collaboration, live streams, less work actually. We don't want to take on as much work this year, which we said this for 2024, and then this was the year we did the most work. So we're kind of like hyper aware of, we say these things, but hopefully we deliver it,
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's kind of crazy, because the time that you say you actually want to cut back is where suddenly everybody wants a piece of you, which kind of seems crazy. It's like there's no rhyme, no reason to it. You go out looking for the work, and it's like quiet tumbleweed moment. Think, I'm going to take this year, I'm going to take it quiet. And it's like suddenly email, phone calls, everything is coming in. It's like, geez, give me a break.
But yeah, I feel like I definitely feel something different when I'm like working with you, Jeff, and like doing live streams, helping other people. I feel better than just like a one-way conversation with like just a tutorial, but like, because I know it will help people, but I don't see the direct results. Like I like to do more of that in the future, I would say.
there's something fun about the collaboration side of things, whether it's doing like a live streams or whether you're doing other forms of collaboration. And I think this is a nice thing. I think this is probably why these are fun, is because we all have very different personalities. We have very different sort of channels in a lot of respects, and maybe different output sort of outlooks, different tool sets, different passions and things. But I think the differences are probably what draw us together to make us a good fit, is that we do have different personalities with different ideas. And I think the nice thing is we're all kind of respectful of each other's, but we can still have a bit of fun with it and, sort of listen to what other people have to say. But yeah, cool. Imran, what about yourself? Have you got any sort of plans other than world domination, or YouTube domination anyway, because you seem to be on fire at the moment. So,
I mean, of course, 2025 is to continue what I'm doing at the moment. But I also, and I don't want to scare anyone off on this, but sometimes I'm a little bit fed up of doing tutorials. I will always still be doing tutorials on WordPress and whatever. I'll still do that. But sometimes I'm a little bit jealous of a lot of other content creators out there where they can just pop up a camera and just talk about life or whatever, stuff. Whereas when we record, we have to be very aware of the screen and the mouse and where we click, and, then we got to edit stuff out. And I would love it if I could just somehow find an avenue where I can add it to what I already do without alienating my current subscribers who've obviously subscribed to watch videos about WordPress and stuff like that. Because I want to do movie reviews. I want to be reviews about the TV shows I watch on TV. I want to do more than just WordPress, but I've got to work it out in my head. How do I do that alongside WordPress? But I do a bit like that, that Matt guy you shared, video you shared, Jeff, where they can just talk. And sometimes I feel a bit like we have to prep so much in advance. We can't just boot up a camera. Well, we can do, but I'm trying to find a way of how do I do that. I hope that made sense. What I was meaning with that. So it's not just all tutorials.
Yeah, I was talking when I was on that sort of call with Dave Foy yesterday. I was sort of talking about the same kind of thing there, where some people are just natural storytellers. They could tell you about the weather forecast for tomorrow, but they can make it interesting and keep you engaged the entire time. And some people are very good at that in tutorials. I mean, Peter McKinnon is a good one. When he used to do the 2 Minute Tuesday, and he used to do sort of like his tutorials and things. Excellent videography. There's always a story involved in it somewhere, and even if you had no interest in what he was teaching you, you watched it because it was just entertaining. And there's an art to that. It's not something that everyone can do. And it's like, I know of myself, I struggle with kind of thinking, how can I create some kind of story element to this tutorial or this topic or whatever? And it's just, my brain isn't wired that way. But I wish it was, because it is such an amazing skill and an art form. And some people are just naturals at it. It is one of those unsort of recognized skills by a lot of people. I think only when you sort of identify, it's like, that's why I watch this channel. It's not because of the content itself. It's because of the way it's delivered, and the delivery is entertaining, and informative.
I think, do you guys relate with this? The one thing I struggle with a lot of times is like, who is the person watching your video? Is it someone who's super advanced, knows how to do like SQL queries, or is it someone who just installed Elementor? It's really hard to create tutorials sometimes because I'm like, I have no idea who the hell's on the other side of this camera or on the other side of the screen,
I just assume that they know nothing. And I always feel like if they want to skip ahead, they can. But I just assume that they know they have no knowledge. They don't even know what WordPress is. They were actually trying to do an Excel sheet, and somehow they came onto my video, and now I'm going to teach them how to make an image hover.
Well, kind of my approach to that has been a little bit different. I mean, I'm not bothered about the image hover, and if they're looking for a film review, no. I know what you mean, because you always read these business books and stuff, and they say like, you should create your avatar. Your avatar should be like aged between 45 and 54 with an income of $50,000 per month, and their name is John, and they live in middle America, and they sort of live in suburbia, and they drive a Mercedes or something. It's like, that just has no bearing upon the way that I look at things. So to kind of make my life easier is I prefer to have more intermediate tutorials. So I think, right, I'm going to do the foundation videos, like I've done the Bricks 101, for example, which is the foundations of the key things that you need to know. And then it's like anybody that's watching the video, if they come in and go, I don't know what that means, look at those. Those videos are there. So if you are at that sort of beginner level, there's the videos you need to watch. These are more intermediate. So that's kind of what I've approached. The way that I sort of put things together is like I'll put the foundations there so they can go to them when they need them. Excuse me. But the videos, they assume a certain level of prior knowledge, because it means I don't want to keep going over the same old grounds. Like insert a section with a div and block.
This is what CSS is. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So if you don't know, you're in the wrong place. There's all the videos for you. Work through those and then come back to this one.
Well, one thing that kind of hit me is I was going to do a really advanced like CrocoBlock tutorial. It was like pretty advanced. Like there was like SQL stuff I was doing. I was like, if the person who's watching this video knows what this video is not going to help them, because they should already be so advanced that they know how to do things. So I kind of hit that point where I was like, I want to do really complicated ones, but I'm like, is there even an audience for that?
No, I think you should do it, and as long as you timestamp it so that people know what's coming up. If they want to watch it, they'll watch it, and because I'm pretty sure you'll cover like bits of the basics and then go into the SQL side. So I would do it.
The other thing to consider is that just because someone knows something doesn't mean to say they know the best way of doing it or an alternative way. Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, I'll watch things like I know how to do blah blah blah. But it's like, I'll watch someone else's content on it and I'll pick little things that I think, actually that's a more efficient way than I would have done it, or that's a different approach. So I would say, much like Imran just said, do it. Because what's the worst that can happen? You spend a little bit of time and you've got a reference to go back to, because I know Imran, we've talked about this before and you've talked this in live streams. A lot of the videos you create is because it's something that you'll go back to it and watch it 6 months' time because you've forgotten how to do it. And it's like a little reference point. And Mark, you said the same. Yeah, I've done it. I was looking at relationships the other day and thinking, crap, how the hell did I do that again? And I know I've done it.
Absolutely.
I literally did it yesterday for a client website. I had to watch my own video,
yeah. But at least you put in, your own watch time. That's where the invalid traffic comes from. We forget everything and watch our own videos.
Yep.
Glad to know I'm not alone. Not the only one.
I felt bad, Paul, because I just did a video. It kind of overrode what you did on CrocoBlock's channel. It was the custom content types. I made basically the same video, but it's like yours was a couple years older, mine was newer. I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, I almost, it was almost the same tutorial, but yeah, you have to update these things. That's like a whole other struggle too. It's like, I watched a little bit of the thing you had yesterday with Dave Foy, and when he said that about creating courses, if you make it at bricks 1.999 and then tomorrow they come out version 2.0, your course is done. It's like obsolete basically.
It is, but I think on that front, I mean, it kind of then depends how you build a course. I think the problem you got where you build like those beginner videos, those beginner courses, there's so much ground you've got to cover there that when things do change, if the key fundamental changes, it's difficult, because then the person that maybe watches it isn't comfortable and confident enough to be able to go, that's a bit different, so they can learn themselves, as a generalization. Whereas I think when you kind of go for the more intermediate level things, it's like people already have those foundational skills, so they're looking to see, okay, how do I expand my skill set into X, Y, and Z, like the course that I've just released now. I've had people sort of going like, why you've sort of alienated thousands of people want to buy this because you use this particular form plugin. It's like, but whatever form plugin I used, I would alienate people that don't use it. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's a logic to why I chose that tool set. And, if you don't use that tool set, or you can't see the benefit of using that to save money or become more efficient, then that's fine. I don't expect you to have to use it. But at some point, you've either got to hyper-focus on a specific tool set or a specific topic. But unless you're doing things, like you say, that are so fast-moving, it's insane, I think you just have to get stuck in and create it. Like Jeffrey, for example, your SEO course, SEO changes. But, if you kind of create your course with those kind of key skills, it's like writing good content, those key things, that doesn't get old. There's an evergreen element to those kinds of things. And I think the same thing goes like with, if you're teaching web design, if you're teaching how to work with, with Flexbox or CSS Grid, once people understand the concept, if the tool changes, it's easy for you then to go back and quickly change that one video. but people grasp the concept. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to education, is that you don't just show X, Y, and Z gets result Y. It's like, right, these are the tools. This is why you use them. This is the theory behind what's happening. And then if the tool changes, well, you've got the foundational knowledge. You understand what you're doing. Otherwise, it's just a checklist of do these 10 points and you'll get this result. But if you don't want this result, you have no idea how to get the result you want, because that doesn't tell you. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's important information.
It needs to be planned out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be planned out. Like when you create, I found that with creating courses that you have to think about the changes that are going to come and structure it in a way. But also, as somebody who buys courses and takes courses myself, I find that the important part is teaching the thought process behind it, teaching somebody how to you're taking them along step by step, but you're taking along the thought process to try to develop that, because we can never do everything the same way. We all have different variables going on with whatever we're trying to learn. So yeah, that has to be in there. That was one of my big lessons after I created my first couple that I found. What hit me hard was Elementor, all right? Changing names on widgets that did not need name changing. Like, I'm still hung up on why did they change the nav menu to the WordPress menu and the mega menu to the menu. I don't know. That messed me up for a while.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the key problems. If you are working with Elementor, for example, I mean, I know when I did my Figma to WordPress course a couple of years back, the container was still in beta, so it wasn't a fully released thing, and there was no sign of when it was going to be released. So I thought, I'm going to make the course using that. Forget about the way it's working at the moment. So while it's a beta at the moment, in 6 months' time, 6 days' time, 6 years' time, at some point it's going to be the final thing. And what that's enabled is the fact that that's now kept sort of like had that course last longer, because I knew that at some point was going to be released, and a lot of people were still already using it. I think we're lucky when it comes to something like bricks, for example. I can't say they're suddenly going to turn around and go, we're not going to use sections, containers, blocks, and divs. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's the core foundation. So when you're teaching those principles, and like we've just said, like Jeffrey, you've kind of attested to, when you teach people the principles and they understand the underlying logic and technology, they can adapt those skills and that knowledge to other tools or to different scenarios. And I think that's the key thing. As educators, we're there to sort of show them the tools, but also explain why. Why do we use them? What's the point in it? What's the pros to using CSS Grid over Flexbox, or Flexbox over CSS Grid, or vice versa kind of thing. I think that's part of what we should be doing when we create our course. Like you say, we put the planning in. Those key fundamentals are incredibly important.
Yeah. And that's also why I feel like, even though I think like 3 of us create courses, some of us even have the same ones, but anybody who is taking multiple courses on one topic, they're going to get more out of it. They're going to get a better foundation for themselves. Then they're going to find their own way that works best for them by taking all that. So it's all an investment. And again, I approach it all now as somebody who is a student. I've invested in myself. That's why I'm able to do this right now. And when I invest in a course, if I want to learn something, like coming up next is going to be financing and investing. That's just something in my personal life that I want to learn. So I'm already buying multiple books. I'm buying multiples because I want to hear other people's angles and sort of cherry pick to come up with what works best for me.
And I think that kind of circles back to what Mark was saying. Sorry, Imran. Yeah. It circles back to what Mark was saying. Was if you think, will people learn anything from this if they're already at that level? I think they will, because as Jeffrey's just said, and I think the key thing here is we all learn differently, and we can hear the same topic delivered by 5 different people. We could all do the same lesson, and chances are some people would pick things up from Mark that they wouldn't get from me, and from Jeffrey they wouldn't get from Imran. I think that's one of the beauty of why you've got such a broad depth of online educators and creators and things like that, and how useful that is, because as you've said, Mark, you've just done basically the same thing as my CCTs from like about 5 years ago, but you've updated it, So there's more relevance there. People are going to look at that more because it is more up to date than what I'd released. So, I think there's always benefits to sort of taking what, let's say, what's it called, the art of stealing or stealing other people's art. There's no originality left kind of thing. We're all taking the same thing. We're taking the same tools. If I teach you how to use containers in Elementor, it's still containers in Elementor. Do you know what I mean? So whichever one of us use it, we're all taking the same topic. We're just delivering it in our way, which will resonate with some and not with others. So I'm the same as Jeffrey. I'll read various different books, or I'll read different sort of things, listen to podcasts, watch tutorials, and some will resonate with me. Other ones I'm sat there thinking, please, for the love of God, tell me why I need to know this, because I don't know what it is you're trying to tell me. But it's the same topic, but we'd all learn differently. But one thing I want to say quickly is Matt asked a good question. Afternoon, Matt. Can courses be packaged like software with iterative version numbers, possibly improving week by week? I'm going to leave that on screen. Imran, what are your thoughts on that? I'm going to kind of go around all of us a bit. And what do you think?
No, and that's something I've done as well. So when I released the Elementor course last year, there were like version updates, either if it was because Elementor went and released a new feature like taxonomy filters or whatever, or because I had actually changed my methodology or the way I wanted to explain it, or there was an updated video. So I think that we can do that. The problem comes when there's a big fundamental change. So like let's say Dave's got a bricks course out there, and then you've got the components now come out. Now you got to think about, do I need to redo this entire section of the course, whatever? So I think iterative versions, everything like that is okay. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it, but sometimes you have to kind of go, no, it's got to be a totally brand new course. Like there's all this talk about maybe Elementor might have global classes. Maybe. I don't know. I hear it, but then I don't see it. If that comes out, I'm pretty sure Jeffrey, others will have to stop and go, so what we've got now, is it such a fundamental change, or can I just stick it in at the end as a module and go, oh, by the way, you could use this as well? So we are constantly evaluating. I just want to go back to something you guys were saying about how we learn as well. All we're doing is putting our opinions out there on how we tackle things, and all we're giving you, the viewers, is multiple ways of answering a question. In the old days, you wanted to buy something, like you saw something in the Argos catalogue or whatever, you would get maybe one review and you had to make a snap decision on whether you were going to get it or not. Now, if I decide, I'm going to get a camera, I'm going to get a phone, I'm going to get a new mouse, you'll go onto YouTube and you'll see who's done a review of it, and you sit there watching 20 different reviews and then you make a decision. And I think that's what we do as content creators. We're just giving you a way of how to create an image, but you don't have to follow us, okay? You don't have to treat everything we say as the fact. It's our way of doing it, but that doesn't mean the way Paul does it or the way Jeffrey does it or Mark, that doesn't mean their way is incorrect. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think to kind of go back to, and I get what you're saying there, I agree with you. To go back to Matt's point, I think it also depends on how you deliver your courses. So, for example, like where I've got a community and Jeffrey's got a community, it makes this kind of thing easier, because if someone is part of that community and part of that is that they get, access to your courses, then you can be more fluid in your process, because the lifespan and the shelf life kind of thing can be longer. So being iterative is easier because you don't have to then redo the course, if that makes sense. You could be a bit more fluid with it, I think. Whereas if you're selling a course, you kind of have to ask, do you want to keep on going back and reinventing that wheel when you need to, when things change? And like you say, to use your good example there with, if Elementor does come out with global classes, that's going to be a fundamental refactoring of how you build websites. Do you have to? Excuse me. No, you can still carry on probably building it without it, same as you can with bricks. If you want to work in the same way you've worked with Elementor and bricks, you can do. But it makes no sense to do it that way. So I think if they do actually bring that out, that is going to mean that a lot of what everybody's done with their courses, you could tack it on at the end, but I think that kind of does that fundamental a disservice. Because if you're showing how to build a site through your entire course, one of the key things you should be showing at the beginning is how you'd use global classes to make the whole process quicker and easier. If you just bolt that on the end, it's kind of like you're showing someone how to put the wheels in their car once they've bought it and tried to drive it at the showroom. It's like, it doesn't make sense. It's the wrong way around. That needs to be at the beginning. So I think when you have fundamental changes, that does have a big impact. But incremental changes are probably easier to factor in, and the sort of delivery method of your courses is also important, I think. I mean, Jeffrey, what do you think? I mean, you've got a community, you've got some seriously big courses on your site. I mean, how would you approach this?
Well, if there's a fundamental change that changes everything that I'm going to be doing on how I'm going to use a tool like global classes coming to Elementor, it's time for Elementor 3.0. Design with Elementor 3.0. There's no other way around it, because, I look at the goal of the course, and it's got a very specific goal to build a foundation, knowing how to build with best practices and design with best practices. So that way people could get started building professional websites. Well, the way it is in Elementor, we could use the best practices with what we have. But if something changes, we got to go back to the drawing board. But as far as like updating the course, see, for me, I literally lock myself inside of my office for months at a time. Like, if anybody saw behind the scenes on what it takes to build a course, like personal life, family life, everything is just like taking a back seat. Like, literally, I feel chained to the desk and the camera for months. For months, I go to sleep thinking about it, wake up to it. Like, it is a serious process. Maybe some people are better at doing it quicker and don't go as deep as I do, but I don't know, I kind of feel like Joaquin Phoenix or something, where you become like what is it, a method actor in a way. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if you guys can relate to that. So my latest courses, I designed them in a way where we focus on the fundamentals. And as long as those fundamentals stay the same and could achieve the goal, we're good. But I also know that it's not forever evergreen, where it does have a lifespan.
Yeah, I think to kind of piggyback on what you're saying there is, not only do you lock yourself away to build the course, you then have all the ancillary things around it. Set up the landing pages, make sure the payment things all work out, set your email sequences up, your early adopters, getting them onto your mailing list to keep them up to date with what's going on, and all those kinds of things. And as I said the other day, and I think everybody that's done a course will know, it's like, whatever time you think it'll take, you can triple it, at least. Because it's one of the reasons why I've started doing shorter courses. Like the one I've just released is sub 2 hours. Because A, I don't have to assume that prior knowledge. B, I'm not going over showing you how to use bricks or ACF or anything like that. I'm showing you how to do a specific job. And even that took me a week of actually recording it and editing it and doing all the kind of things there. And none of this was scripted. It's like I've literally just got, these are the breakdown sections. Then you've got to go and rebuild what you've done to start off with, to test it out, to make sure that everything you've done works, making your notes as you go along for the steps you want to include in there. Then the recording and the editing and the re-recording when things go wrong or you just don't like it. And then people moan about you charging 50 quid for it. It's like, gee, how much do you think your time is worth? If someone said to you, would you work a week for 50 quid? People would go, no. Do you know what I mean? Or $50. People would go like, no. Say, well, that's basically what you're asking us to do. It's like, we've spent an entire week locked away, not just building the course, but everything else around it, supporting you afterwards, answering your questions on. And I'm not moaning about it. I love it. But it's kind of like there's so much goes on behind the scenes. There's so many wheels and pieces to this sort of whole machine that you built to do a course. I don't think people really sort of see all that, or they don't necessarily understand there's all that going on behind it. And, maybe we don't talk about it enough to make people sort of aware of what actually does go on behind the scenes, so how many moving parts there are. And when it's just you doing it, that's an awful lot of work.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering.
He's had a good question. Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say real quick. I've been waiting for YouTube to come out with their they're gonna have a courses section. It's like a feature. I don't know if any of you guys have it enabled yet, but I'm kind of waiting for that because that might be a little bit of a different way to approach it, because you could just do one-off courses, I believe. So you could just have like one, 30-minute video, 1 hour video, and the people will stay on the platform. They just pay for it, get it, and move on. So I think that's one reason why I never got into courses, because I know how much work is involved and you have to market it and everything. But I don't know. YouTube eventually is going to push this feature out. It's something that I might experiment with. I don't know about you guys, but something I'm thinking about.
I'd be reticent to go down that route because they're going to take probably 45% of that. And it's
Probably
like,
at least 30, I would say. Yeah.
Well, whichever way they go, it's like it's a big chunk of change when you kind of think they're not going to market and promote it to a specific audience or a bigger audience that you can already generate yourself. And I think this is the benefit of having communities and having, sort of people following you and stuff like that, and giving people reasons to sign up, early adopters and stuff like that. I would rather have control over it than hand that to YouTube, because knowing what it's like, how YouTube can just basically kill your revenue, and I wouldn't want to hand that over to them and let them have control of it. I would rather have less people but have full control than have no control. The platform isn't mine.
That's
in
why
any way.
a lot of people still use like Patreon, and they don't use the YouTube membership as much, because I just looked into it yesterday. I think they take 30%, whereas like a Patreon only take maybe up to 12% or something like that. So you save 20-something% just going to Patreon. Yeah,
exactly. So
the more independent, the better. Yeah.
Yeah. Was this the case?
Okay, so Case had a good question about the new version probably not being for the people who already gained experience from the older version.
Yeah.
And I just finished rebuilding my first course, and the experience was I found out I could do it better. I learned everything that was missed, and it was a complete different angle. And then really the Elementor 2.0 course, the Design with Elementor 2.0, I made it because I made a promise. That was the sole reason why I created that course. I would not have created the course if I didn't promise all the original students that I'm going to remake it and everybody gets access to it. Everybody gets free access to it who took it. So there are ways to kind of refine it, but update it. How should I say it? Well, just like all skills start to improve. We all find out what worked, what didn't work, and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And keep in mind, everybody, usually I'm in bed at this time. So I just got to throw it out there because I know in the last lives we do a live, I start to get a little silly. I start to just, my mouth starts to just move at night. I lose the control of not saying stupid shit. All right. It just is going to happen. And I do want to give a shout out to the mushroom tea, just in case anybody thinks I'm on shrooms. This is a wellness tea. It's blurred.
Well, just trust
put your hand behind
it. Just trust me. That's what it is.
Yeah, trust me, I'm a doctor. Yeah, we've heard that one before.
Yeah. I'm a YouTuber, trust me.
Yeah. Everything I say is gospel. Yeah, I mean, I think, we do it because we love it. We know the hard work that's involved in it, but we know what it can do for people that actually buy it and invest in it. As there's this sort of phrase that I've used a couple of times lately, which I sort of seen ages ago, which is people don't buy information, they buy transformation. And when you can create content that helps them transform something about their life, whether that's they become more efficient, they can set up this sort of like side hustle, they learn new skills they can charge more money for, whatever. And I'm sure all of us have had emails and messages from people saying how courses or tutorials we've done have helped them change their life in some way. I had one a couple of years back, and I think I've said this before, is like, I sort of sat there reading it first thing in the morning, and the missus like looked at me and went, "Why are you crying?" It's like tears right on your face. And you sort of read this message. I sort of gave it over to her. It's like a big long sort of email. And it was basically how through the sort of content they'd put out there, they'd been able to learn how to build websites, start their own business, and wherever they lived, in whatever country it was a very rough area. They said, and what you've allowed me to do is we've literally just moved out of that area, me and my family, and we've taken ourselves to a safe part of whatever the country, the city, whatever it was. I said, I've got to thank you so much because you've changed our lives. And I started thinking, when you do these things, you sat in a room like this talking to a screen, you just think, I'm just building tutorials on how to do X, Y, or Z. But you don't realize, when you think about it, like the person on the other side of that screen, watching it, consuming what you put out there, learning new skills, wherever it is, some people, it does change their lives. And I think that's an amazing thing to think that by us doing this in a little room on our own, where you spend hours just learning and testing and come up with ideas and talking to people and being involved in groups and things, it does have an impact. And I think that's something we need to be really sort of understanding of, is that what we do it because we love doing it, but it does have an impact on some people's lives, positive impact. And that
Be
in
honest.
itself is amazing.
Yeah. Be honest, Paul. That was Matt Mullingweg, wasn't it, who wrote that email?
You had it man.
I think it was also the girl that came in the chat earlier. There's something about you, and I think she really liked you. But Paul, man, that's what it's all about. Isn't it such an awesome thing? Like, I find it just so blessing that, are able to do something that gives value. It helps people. It helps us. It's just this like full circle. Like, I teach to learn, and this keeps me in the process constantly of learning. And being able to do that is, going back to that question of plans for 2025, one of my plans coming up is to do some different content as well. I've been planning this out for a little bit. A few months ago, I was in the call with some people from Blog Vault, and one of the guys was really cool, and he asked me a question. What kind of content do I enjoy creating the most? And the first thing that came to my mind is mindset growth, personal growth, development, because that is the core of everything that I do. Because of my past, because of what I went through, I have been having to work on personal development for the last 13 years just to save my life and give me a new life. So that got me really thinking, because anybody who takes my newsletter, who's subscribed to my newsletter and gets it, usually all my newsletters are evolved around mindset growth. And it's amazing the feedback, just people that have gone through similar things that could relate to it. It gets me more excited than creating tutorials. So I've been toying around with the thought of creating a second channel that is focused on mindset growth, but for creatives, because, learning web design is fantastic. We got to master web design if you want to be a professional designer, have a good career in it. But that's only part of it. Good web design does not find projects. Good web design doesn't close deals. It is the person behind it. And we have a lot to learn as far as how do we communicate, how do we approach with money and sales, how do we manage ourselves, all types of things. So that's where I'm at, man. I feel like in this area, I just love seeing other people connecting and also, on that same journey.
I've got to say, you saying that, all four of us in this stream have all either still have a business, an agency, sort of freelancing, whatever it is you're doing. And we've all got a lot of experience in various different business. And like you say, it doesn't get work through the door. Maybe there's something to consider for some future live streams. It doesn't have to be specifically this in this kind of format. Maybe something a little different. Maybe even just not a live stream, some content. But maybe it's one of those things that we tap into where we look at the business aspect of things and how you approach various different things. Because I can imagine all four of us have probably approached things in very different ways, but we've all been successful in creating businesses and working with clients and building relationships up and all those kinds of things. Take the technical out of it. One of the things that I always said, and I think we've talked about this before, is that every client that I end up working with, I wanted to build a relationship with that client, because if you could help them grow as a business they'll keep coming back to you.
Yeah.
And that way your business grows when they grow. So you ultimately want them to flourish so you can flourish. And I think there's a lot to be said for that sort of mentality, as opposed to just trying to get as many websites through the door, and you knock them out for like $500, and it's like it's all about quantity over the quality and no relationships, because like the job's done, get out, next person, let's get the next one. It's like a production line. So maybe there's some mileage that we have a little sort of chat off air about things like that, and see if there's something we can kind of put together when we approach a specific topic or a particular area or something in each one. Maybe a podcast, maybe a live stream, maybe a pre-recorded. I don't know. Just as you said that, maybe that's a good way. And also then it could be a good way of testing the waters. And then like Jeffrey, if you wanted to kind of then start your second channel, you can kind of see what the reception would be, and you've already got some ideas of what people are looking for and how you can help them and things.
I'm down.
Sounds good.
You know, it's definitely something that's needed, you know, like recently there was a short, and I was part of the short showing a $10,000 website that I built. And in the comments, started seeing a lot of comments coming through like, you charge $10,000 for that? I could do that for $5,000. I could do that for $4,000. I could do that in one day for $500. And at first, my first reaction was defensive. It was like, but you don't know what went into it. You don't know. And then wait, no, you don't know. That's the problem. You don't know what goes in. You don't know about the value, and that right there just shows, hey, this is opportunity. It's not about getting defensive. It's not about like trying to prove something. It's about, there's so much to learn and there's so much to grow, that I believe down to my core, if a web designer could learn and grow in these areas, that their life and their career would flourish. It would be so much better than what they have right now.
I think that's because whoever was saying that was separating the technical from the business. And I think there's a different thing there. Technically, could someone have done that for $500? Yeah, if someone had come along and said, right, this is everything we want, just build it. There's the wireframe, there's the content, there's the images, this is everything. From the technical point of view, someone probably could put something, I don't know what the website was like, but like in general, like let's say a typical 5-page business website. Someone probably could sit there in a day and say, I'll charge you $500 to do it. But that's that much of the project. The project is that big. That's one small piece of it. So yeah, so what you charged the $10,000 for wasn't just to do the build. It was all the other things that went with it. Excuse me. So it's like people, when they look at things like that, I think they just go, I could build that, but that's only one part of the whole process and the smallest part of it. There's all the other things. And did the website that they put together, did it perform? Did it do the job that it was intended? If that client come to you and said, the aim of this project is I want my website to generate 10 leads per day for me, then it's my job to convert them. Well, if someone built the website and it didn't do any, if they charge $500, it's irrelevant, isn't it? It's kind of like the whole point of that is, that's the job I wanted to do. If you can do that for me, I'll pay you 10 grand. Because every one of those contacts might be worth 10 grand to that particular business. So again, they're paying for that transformation of their business in some way, the return on the investment. And I think a lot of people miss that point when it comes to charging $500 or charging $1,000 compared to a $10,000 website. Most of the time you look at the $10,000 website, you think, from a technical point of view, what's it doing that's that expensive? Excuse me. Because the website is doing its job, is converting. It's not about the number of pages and the things that you put together in a particular order. They're there for a reason. There's a flow to it that says, right, you go from there to there. And the whole concept of that page has been thought out to do that job, to drive them down that funnel. Just putting a website together or a page together doesn't necessarily do that. If the things are in the wrong place and people are going all over the place, they're just jumping off. So it's not worth 10 grand. But you could build a one-page landing website, and if that was generating $5,000 per day and you charge them 10 grand, 2 days, they're already in profit. Most businesses would say, I will give you 10 grand right now if you can do that for me. And I think that's the difference that people don't necessarily understand, is that if that website does what it's intended to do, people will pay you good money for it. If it doesn't, then that's where your $500 website will typically come in.
Yeah, people forget that sometimes. You know how it's like race to the bottom. That's all. It could also go the other way too. Someone could look at that and be like, "I wouldn't touch that unless it's $1 million." You know, I could build that for $1 million. So people forget that it can go the other way too. They could overvalue it. Or, yeah.
Sorry, we're just talking about pineapple on pizza, but I'm conscious of the time. We've now hit our 1 hour. I think that's a very good point to leave it. Not the pizza and the pineapple, because we all have different opinions on that. But I think there's mileage, and I think offline we'll have a chat about it. And if you watch this on replay, let us know in the comment section if you find something like that useful, where we do talk about the business behind websites and stuff like that. And maybe, we take some practical examples and sort of dissect those sites and take a look at what makes them good in comparison to others, those kinds of things. But also, like I say, the business aspect, the mental health and well-being and all those kinds of things, which, like I say, I think Jeffrey is definitely passionate about. And knowing your background, I can totally understand why you feel that way. But, okay, I'm going to say let's wrap it up here. So, Mark, if anybody wants to find out more about you and Wiki Design, how can they find out and how can they get in touch?
Wikidesign.com. It's I have to spell it out sometimes. It's WICKY, not WIKI. Because I just realized somebody else has that domain, damn it. But yeah, Wiki Design. I'm on here on YouTube a lot. We're doing live streams, so check us out if you want to chat with me and Barb. Yeah.
Sweet. Imran, if anybody doesn't know who you are, let's be honest about it. I don't think there's anybody on the planet that probably doesn't know who you are these days.
Just do a search for Web Squadron on Google or YouTube, and you'll find the videos and the website link. And obviously, we're on Facebook as well. We got a great group, so come and find me. There's a 99% chance I won't reply to your email, but I'm here for you.
just search for Imran Pepsi Max. Unless you put payment details in it. Jeffrey,
Absolutely.
yourself.
Yeah, just check out Lightbox Academy. It's spelled LYTBOX. And yeah, go check it out. And also our community on Circle. Just go to lightboxacademy.com. You can see access there and join us.
Awesome. Well, let me take a moment to say thank you for joining in today. It's always good fun to do these. We'll be back now, I think, in January, towards the end of January. We try to do these every single month. So, if you've got any comments or feedback, if you're watching this on the replay, make sure you drop them in the comment section down below. I've been WP Tuts, and until next time, take care.